Welcome to Turnpike Sports. I am Dave Weishuttle, and as always, I'm joined by my producer and co-host, Doug Weishuttle. Doug, fun time with the NBA draft last night.
Have to admit, it was the first time I watched the entire draft that was televised.
Well, let me tell you,
I didn't watch any of the streams. I know Bleacher Report and CBS Sports HQ,
PointsBet.
Yeah. FanDuel even did something too, from what I understand. A lot of the online sports books were doing things. As a matter of fact, Bleacher Report had one of their very first broadcasts from their Caesar studio out in Vegas.
I got to tell you, I was feeling really good about going into this because you can. First time I was thinking I'm going to bet on something about the NBA draft because everyone was doing it. I had a lot of confidence. This week I hit on 2 MLB parlays. So you know what? Hey, let's put a little money on the NBA draft a shot. I had Kobe White going at the 6th pick, but you know what? I screwed that up. He went on the 7th. So.
Well, I went with Darius Gardner going 3rd to the Knicks, mainly because I really thought the Knicks were going to screw up the pick.
Okay.
Because the way the Knicks are, I just figured, you know what? Common sense doesn't apply to that team sometimes. And they made the right pick there in the 3rd one.
Absolutely. Hey, stick around later in this show. I'm going to have a very interesting interview about sports betting. I'm going to have author Simon Chokoisky, who writes The Gambler's Dharma, Sports Betting with Vedic Astrology. Every gambler's trying to look for an edge or kind of an angle. And you know what? Why not use the ancient wisdom of astronomy to help you make money with sports betting? So that's Simon Chokoisky later on, author of Gambler's Dharma, Sports Betting with Vedic Astrology.
I have to admit, one of the ancillary effects of legalized sports betting is this incredible amount of sports betting books coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And 2 weeks ago, we had Ed Miller and Matthew David Dow on for The Logic of Sports Betting.
Who are guys that you know from the poker world, and now they transitioned into sports betting.
But a lot of great books coming out. Check them out, and you're going to hear all about one really unique one.
Well, it's been a busy week in sports, so let's take a trip down the Turnpike. And today's trip down the Turnpike is brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
Exit 1.
Alrighty. After all the fighting and all the other garbage the pro leagues did, we have the NBA, again, embracing sports betting.
Yeah.
They are launching
with
highlight games, a virtual sports betting game that they're calling NBA Last 90. And it's actually a very interesting game. I like it. I like the idea. They're using footage from old games, and they're using a intuitive algorithm underneath it where it's going to have a random ending when they put all the scenes together. And then you can bet on the outcomes or different things, who's going to score first, who's going to score last. There's going to be a whole line of different prop bets associated with this.
So let me get this straight. They're calling it NBA Final 90, right? Or something.
NBA Last 90.
NBA Last 90. So it's the last 90 seconds
of a game,
of a fictional game. Of a fake game. It's a fictitious game. It never happened. It never was played. And it's some computer generating this fictitious game.
Well, no,
right?
the individual plays have happened. They're real plays.
But they're real plays that didn't occur in the same game as the next play going on.
Right, they're stitching them together. An algorithm's going to put it all together and determine the outcome, that sort of thing. It's going to, virtual games aren't really new. They're new to the United States.
Sure.
As a matter of fact, I think Play Sugar House started out as a virtual sports betting site with some soccer and stuff. Mm-hmm. But, it's nothing too outrageously new. It's new for the NBA and any of the professional sports leagues. They're the first league to embrace something like this.
I wonder why they settled on the last 90 seconds of a game. I wonder if they just want to get a whole bunch of these things together and throw them up there, or Any reason for that?
Attention span.
Really? Okay.
It's got to be. I mean, there's no other reason for a 90-second, betting game. I mean,
and is this real money? This is
virtual gaming is a commonplace thing in Europe.
Okay.
I mean, they've actually made United Kingdom. I picked up this stat. Over £771 million bet on virtual sports between April 2017 and May 2018.
So this is real money. Betting on fake games, huh? This is what we've come to.
Virtual games.
Virtual betting or virtual games.
Pennsylvania released their sports betting revenue report for May. Their total handle was down almost $1 million from the previous month. They still brought in just under $36 million in handle. The two properties owned by Rush Street, Rivers and Sugar House, both dominated. No one came close to they both made almost $8 million in handle.
Well, it'd be like I said, it'll be interesting. I think I said it last week. It'll be interesting to see the June numbers because that's when the Stanley Cup Finals were, and that's when the NBA Finals were. So maybe that'll give it a boost or something like that.
It'll also be the first full month of online sports betting.
That's true. That's true.
The 3 days that Sugar House was operating at the end of May, and this is a good indication of what may happen, they made over $500,000 in handle in just 3 days.
Mm-hmm. So
multiply that by 10, that's $5 million.
I got to tell you, let me tell you something. Mobile is going to be a game changer in Pennsylvania, and me being from New Jersey, it's great. There's nothing like sitting on your couch and betting on a game.
Well, everyone's got to be taking those 80% of the betting.
Sure, over 80%.
Yeah.
In New Jersey is on your mobile device.
Staying in Pennsylvania, this seems to be slipping by a lot of people. Mount Airy may be launching a branded sportsbook and poker room with the Stars Group.
Okay.
The Stars Group, as you know, had BetStars. They did the deal with Fox, so now it's Fox Bet.
Fox Bet, yeah, that's right.
So you may see a retail Fox Bet poker room, or at the very least a Fox Bet online license to Mount Airy.
I got to tell you, that makes a lot of sense. Look, poker's, waning a little bit. I mean, it had a, the big bubble was, a couple of years ago, and I guess it kind of lost some of its sparkle. And, sports betting has taken over. And, whenever you're in a poker room, they have TVs with sports on anyway.
Yeah.
So you know what? Why not have a combination sportsbook poker room? I think it's a great idea.
Well, the sportsbook side is going to be small.
Okay.
Relatively speaking to what we're seeing down in Jersey and some of these other places. 3,800 square feet, 4 self-service kiosks, and live tellers during peak hours, whatever they set them to be.
I see the one problem is, the poker rooms I've been in are relatively quiet, and the sports books I've been in, people cheered at a certain thing that happened in the game.
It will be interesting to see.
I wonder if the poker players are going to be annoyed at the noise that the sports book people make. So it should be interesting. That dynamic should be really interesting.
I wonder if there are going to be any tournaments held in that poker room. Or they may have to set up a separate area or something. I don't know what they're going to have to do with that. They're going to have to work that out.
Yeah, I'm curious to how they're going to.
If that goes through as a branded poker room.
I hope it does. And I think it's a great idea.
No, we'll see. But again, I haven't seen too many people talking about it, the split poker sportsbook rooms there. And that Mount Airy is doing something unique, and that's very nice to see. Going back over to New Jersey, Golden Nuggets always had this problem of not being able to take basketball bets.
Well, sure, because their owner, Tillman Fertitta, owns the Houston Rockets, and he also owns the Golden Nugget, so I guess...
But in Vegas, he's able to take NBA bets, except for the Rockets.
Okay, so they carved out the Rockets. New Jersey should be doing that, too.
New Jersey just introduced a bill to do that.
Good. They should.
Now, it's geared specifically because only the Golden Nugget has this issue.
Sure.
So...
Well, now...
You can see why they did it.
Yeah.
Because, it's one of the bigger players both on both coasts.
Sure.
So, you know what? This may actually, they're thinking this may actually help push New Jersey over the edge to get past Nevada.
It should. No disrespect to Nevada, but, the population density in New Jersey is overwhelming. It's like we have the northern sports books right next to New York. We have the southern sports books right next to Philadelphia. Yep. So, that's just by sheer population. New Jersey should be getting a lot more money. We'll see what happens.
And last but not least, we have two other little tidbits. One good news, one bad news.
Okay.
Bad news goes to New York. Looks like New Yorkers are going to still have to go to New Jersey to do mobile betting.
Which is crazy.
The mobile sports betting legislation did not make it through. It's all because Governor Cuomo feels online sports betting is against the Constitution of New York, and you need a constitutional amendment to allow it.
So they're going to be working on a constitutional amendment?
That's his thinking. They would have to do that to allow mobile sports betting.
Okay.
So we'll see exactly what's going on.
But whatever.
Yeah, they didn't make it through the session, so they're going to have to wait till next year. And surprisingly, we have a state. After we talked last week about New Hampshire getting sports betting,
which surprised me.
This is even more surprising. Maine,
yeah.
Maine has passed sports betting legislation. It's off to the governor for his signature. He hasn't signed it yet. We don't know when he's going to be signing. It's probably going to be mid-July, something like that. We'll see if they get it in time for football. But they're going to be able to have both land-based sports betting and online-only sports betting companies. They're not going to be tethered.
See, that's great. I mean,
they're going to tax them differently.
By the way, this is the one and only time I'm going to say this, but New York should take some lessons from Maine with regard to sports betting.
Well,
so
I like the idea of the two-tiered tax system too. If it's a brick and mortar one, they're going to be taxed. What was it here? 10%. Mobile-only platform operators 16% on their revenues.
Well, that makes sense because, the brick and mortar have to employ a lot of people. They have certain regulations. They have, liquor license that they have to do and security problems that the online only don't have. So, yeah, it makes sense.
What's actually
it's fair.
Another surprising thing about Maine, I didn't know this. There are 11 land-based entities that can get sports betting licenses. I did not know.
When you say 11 land, are these casinos or racetracks?
Hollywood Casino in Bangor.
All right.
Oxford Casino in Oxford, Maine, Scarborough Downs Racetrack, the 4 OTB locations in Brunswick, Sanford, Lewiston, and Waterville, and then there are 4 Native American tribes that can get sports betting licenses.
Wow, boy.
So right off the bat, they've got 11 possible retail outlets, and also you got to look at the online companies, PointsBet, DraftKings, FanDuel coming in. There's Bet America may even try this one too.
Hey, why not? Good for Maine.
Exit 2.
Okay, we're going to head on over to the esports industry. We've actually had our very first lifetime ban for match fixing and cheating.
Wow, boy.
Now, everything I've been reading, there's really a lot of trouble trying to keep an eye on cheating because of the nature of the games.
I mean, you're online. Yeah,
exactly.
You're online. How can you really monitor that? Well, how do you cheat when you're doing online?
Well, this is really match fixing, not cheating.
Oh, okay.
So
it is cheating.
It's technically match fixing.
Well, how did they do it?
Well, this actually has a tie into betting.
Okay.
Sports betting. Because the guy, the player, Condi, I can't say, Zhang Renji, of the LGD gaming team, he allegedly was caught by his coach placing a bet on some of the games. And so the coach supposedly blackmailed him to throw games.
Oh.
That's what's going on here. It's one of those
So
things.
are they both banned?
The player is suspended 18 months.
Okay.
The manager/coach is a lifetime ban.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense.
League of Legends.
Wow.
This happened in. And,
okay.
Both.
So this is the first big scandal?
I guess you can call it a big scandal.
Is this the Black Sox version of esports?
Possibly, but the player has had his contract terminated. So even though he's coming back
is that
after
just
18
for
months,
betting? Is that the betting thing?
No, for all this stuff, the match fixing, everything.
Right.
Even though he can come back in 18 months, he's not associated with any team anymore.
Okay.
So he's got to go find another team that would actually take a chance on him. And I'm assuming there's a governing board that has to review this.
I guess.
I mean, how would you approve a guy coming back from match fixing?
Yeah,
someone's got to take a chance on him.
Well, if someone banned him for 18 months, someone can reinstate him. So there has to be some kind
of
board.
LGD Gaming banned him.
Okay.
So because LGD is also the League of Legends team and all that stuff.
Okay.
So they police their own people. They also announced that the academy coach for their players and another player have had their contracts terminated for more match fixing.
Wow.
So
Boy.
You're starting to see some of these things. These are only a 10-month suspension, these two guys. None of them have gotten the lifetime ban that this manager did for blackmailing the player to fix the matches.
Well, it's interesting, and, good for them that they're catching these people doing it. I don't know how they're catching them, but good for them they're doing it.
Which is leading to more discussion about they need an overarching body of governors to actually police this stuff.
I think they'll have that. They need a governing board, and I guess eventually they're going to have a Hall of Fame somewhere. So, they need that kind of structure.
Moving on to the next one, we have Amazon buying another video platform. Wow. They own Twitch. Okay. They just bought Bebo.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it either.
Bebo.
And it not only does it include the people, they become employees of Amazon Twitch and Twitch Rivals, which is what this was for. I'll explain Twitch Rivals in a second. They also get all the intellectual property. They paid $25 million cash. They beat out Discord, which is another social media gaming thing, and they beat Facebook.
For something called Bebo.
Bebo.
Never heard of it.
So what they're going to be doing, Twitch Rivals, it's a casual esports operation, and it's basically streaming casual tournaments. Casual.
When you say casual,
they're not pro gamers.
They're not pros. There's no money.
Well, there's money. There's money, but they organize people who just want to play.
Okay.
Interesting timeline for these guys. Bebo was created back in 2005 by two brothers, the Birches. It was an early social networking site. It was acquired for $850 million by AOL.
Wow.
Back in 2008. 2 years later, wasn't doing well. They sold it to Criterion Capital for $25 million. Criterion filed the company under Chapter 11 bankruptcy, so the Birches bought it back for $1 million. And then they reinvented it, made it an esports streaming casual tournament thing, and now they just made $25 million.
Good for them.
In a course of 14 years.
Wow.
So,
Hey, I'll check out Bebo now.
Yeah. So, actually, if you think about it, 850 plus $25 million.
Yeah. No, that's...
So, they made almost $900 million in 14 years here.
Wow.
And last but not least for esports, I just want to hit this real quick. Luminosity Gaming has signed 4 celebrity esports influencers to its team and also launched what they're calling the LG Fortnite House. It's an actual physical house in Florida that they're starting up where these 4 influencers, who have a combined total following of 1 billion viewers online, they'll be working with Luminosity to create content while they're living in the house. So it's going to be like a Big Brother kind of thing, where they're creating content while they're living there, but they're also creating games and doing tournaments.
Are they going to be filming this, too, as they're creating?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they're going to be doing
all that stuff. And I'm assuming you can watch this on Twitch, because when it's esports, you always watch Twitch, right?
Luminosity Gaming is Canada, so I'm assuming it's going to be Twitch, it's going to be Caffeine, it's going to be all those things.
All right.
Exit 3.
We got the XFL launching soon.
Okay.
And I have to admit, this version of the XFL is impressing me. They're being very innovative with what they're doing. They saw what happened with the AAF or the AAFL, the Awful League, whatever you want to call it. But once the Alliance of American Football failed, everyone's kind of expecting the XFL to fail, too, a little bit, I think. They want to see what they do here.
Have they announced the 8 teams yet? I know they said 8 teams.
They have announced the 8 teams.
They have?
They have.
Oh, wow, I missed this. I got to check this out.
I think they have. I'm not sure. I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure if they've announced it, but they will be launching in 2020. They have TV contracts. The TV companies are paying them. They're not brokering time like the AAF did.
AAF.
Which was stupid to begin with. They should never have done those types of deals. There's no way they survived that way. The NFL survives off the TV contracts.
Sure. Yeah.
So this was interesting. They just announced, even though they have 8 teams for the league, they're launching a 9th team. It's going to be headquartered in Dallas. What this team is, and I guess you can call it the Dallas Spare Parts, because all these players are going to do every week during the season are practice, run plays, and they will be the guys that the other 8 teams can pick from when someone gets injured.
See, that's smart. I wonder if the NFL can do something like that. You always hear these great stories in the NFL. Oh, they just took them right off the streets. I mean, now they have a pool of players that they can see and they have footage on and they can pick them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's very interesting that they came up with this before the NFL did. And one of the reasons why and I don't know if this was boasting by the XFL and Commissioner Luck over there, Andrew's father. Mm-hmm. He said that because of their 25-second play clock, the conditioning is going to be much, much tougher than it is for the NFL.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if that's actually going to be true, but that's why they created this team of spare parts. I hate calling them that, but
spare parts.
They're getting paid. They're getting paid to be spare parts. I wouldn't mind that if I never see the field. I'm getting paid.
Like I said, the injuries always happen. And it's good to have a pool to draw from, and I'm sure these teams will be familiar with this 9th team, and because I'm sure they're going to have footage on them.
Oh, so, of course.
By the way, I'm on the XFL website, and here are the cities.
They have them.
Yes, they do. By the way, the cities will tell you that. I think they're going to have a better response from the fans than the AAF did because they're in some major cities. It's Dallas, it's Houston, Los Angeles, New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Washington, D.C.
Wow. So they're going to have 2 teams in Dallas. They're going to have the spare part
teams
there,
in
too.
Texas.
2 teams in Texas.
Yeah, Dallas, Houston, Los Angeles, New York, St. Louis, Seattle, Tampa Bay, Washington.
Is that 8 or 9?
That's the 8 right here. I don't think they're going to name the spare part team.
Well, they said the 9th team will be in Dallas too.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
So we'll see what happens. I think this is
great. So the spare part team will be another one in Dallas.
Probably.
Because there are 8 teams listed here.
Here's one other thing I saw. I really hadn't thought about too much about this, but this is another indication of how innovative the XFL is becoming. You had the AAF. They got rid of the kicking game. The point after touchdowns, all that stuff. You had to go for 2.
Yep.
The XFL has come up with a 1, 2, and a 3-point play after a touchdown.
Really? What's the 1, 2?
To go for 1 point after a touchdown, you have 1 play at the 2-yard line to get it into the end zone.
1 play. Okay. Not a kick.
No kicking.
Nope.
2-point conversion will be from the 5.
All right.
A 3-point conversion will be 10 yards out.
Okay. Interesting.
So they have to get it into the end zone from either one of those, and they have their choice of which one they want to do, but they only get 1 play to do it.
Exit 4.
And last but not least, are the Rays going to be a two-city team?
This is strange. I don't know. I know there's precedent. We talked about it before we came on air, but this is weird.
Well,
it's bizarre.
It actually makes kind of sense because they're having trouble getting people down there.
Sure.
And they want a new stadium there, but they want a dome. And they're not getting the money to build a dome in Tampa Bay.
No.
So they came up with this idea at the owners' meeting, and they ran it by everybody, and everybody said, go ahead, look into it. What they're looking at doing is playing half the season in Tampa Bay and half the season in Montreal.
So the Tampa Bay Rays will play the first part of the season in Tampa Bay and then move up to Montreal. Will they? I mean, what are they going to be called? I mean, I guess this would have to be
the Montreal Rays. I don't know, but this is it's in the planning stages. They don't know if they're actually going to do it because there's other issues in terms of where you're going to play the playoff games.
Yeah, I don't know how postseason is going to work. Where are you going to play the divisional rounds? Where are you going? How about the World Series? Who certainly Tampa Bay is going to want the World Series, and certainly Montreal is going to want the World Series.
The other question is how many home games is each stadium going to get?
Sure.
Because what happens is one of the benefits of having a team that plays half in the first part of the season in Tampa and the second half in Montreal, both places don't need domes. That's a lot less money. They're going to get new stadiums under this plan, but they're not dome stadiums, so they don't need to worry about the extra couple $100 million to build the ceiling. They're open-air stadiums. And according to Major League Baseball, Montreal has the ability to bring in a whole bunch of new sponsorships. They love baseball up there. They miss the Expos.
Oh yeah,
they miss them something fierce, obviously, to actually ask the Rays to look into doing this if they're involved in this at all. And it's just a matter of, they say there's enough people that would support a half a season of home tickets in Montreal. And this would actually allow Tampa to keep the Rays.
And you said
there's some certain level.
There's precedent to allow this, right?
Yeah, back in 2003, the Expos played in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And back in the 70s, this is a basketball team, the Kings. You know, the Sacramento Kings?
Sure.
Before they were in Sacramento, they split home games in the 70s between Kansas City and Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
Kansas City, Missouri, Omaha, Nebraska. So there is precedent for something working short term. I mean, I don't know if this is a permanent solution, if it can be a permanent solution, or you actually may end up seeing Tampa move to Montreal full time. Depending on what they're. I mean, if they see home games in Montreal outselling home games in Tampa, you know they're going to move to Montreal.
Yeah. Which it probably will.
Yeah, this might just be a low veiled attempt at starting to move the team, or a threat to move the team if they don't get a new stadium down in Tampa. Because if they get a dome stadium in Tampa, they're done. They're not going to do.
They're looking for leverage.
Exactly, and I think they may have found it with this two-city plan.
Well, today's trip down the Turnpike was brought to you by Drizzly, your online liquor store. Available in over 95 cities across North America, Drizzly offers a huge selection and competitive pricing with a side of personalized content. Now there's no need to leave the house. Get alcohol delivered in less than an hour by Drizzly. Head on over to drizzly.com and order today. And now get $5 off your first order of $20 or more when using our promo code DRINK19 at checkout. Shop beer, wine, and liquor with drizzly.com.
And don't forget, you can catch the show on your smart TV applications, Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire. You can just head on over to turnpikesportsradio.com and click the link for our smart television channel. The show is distributed through iHeartMedia, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, YouTube, and now, if you have the radio.com app, you can actually listen to Turnpike Sports through the radio.com. It's being distributed by them now. So good things happening with the show, and to get in touch with us, you can call or text us at 609-512-59110. 609-512-5910 is our call or text line. Hit us up on Facebook or Twitter at Turnpike Sports is the handle for both. Email us at info@turnpikesportsradio.com. And don't forget to order your 2019 International Bikini Team calendar. info@internationalbikiniteam.org is the email address.
And stick around, because I'm going to have a great interview with Simon Chokoisky, the author of Gambler's Dharma, Sports Betting with Vedic Astrology, coming up right after this on Turnpike Sports. Hey, this is Dave Weishuttle from Turnpike Sports with this week's Bet Flash. The National Basketball Association has announced it will be launching a virtual sports betting game. The game will be called NBA Last 90 and will place the player in the last 90 seconds of a fictitious game with various betting propositions. The game is scheduled to launch next season. Lawmakers in New Jersey are considering whether to allow the Golden Nugget Casino in Atlantic City to accept bets on the NBA. Tillman Fertitta is the owner of the Houston Rockets and the Golden Nugget Casino, and under current New Jersey law, owners are prohibited from placing or accepting bets on games involving the sport in which they own a team. Lawmakers have stated that removing this restriction could allow New Jersey to surpass Nevada in sports betting revenue. And finally, New Jersey has said no to placing bets on the 2019 Nathan's Famous International Hot Dog Eating Contest. The contest is held every 4th of July in Coney Island, New York, and several sportsbooks in New Jersey have requested that they be allowed to take bets on the event. The Division of Gaming Enforcement denied their requests. I'd be curious to see some of the prop bets they were requesting. From the seaside to the desert, from the betting lines to the sites online, Turnpike Sports has got you covered. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at Turnpike Sports. New Jersey's sports betting market has exploded, and there's so many places to bet it can make your head spin. But PointsBet.com is the one online sportsbook you can't afford to ignore. PointsBet.com has everything a person would want in a sportsbook. Spread betting, moneyline betting, prop bets, you name it, you'll find it at PointsBet. Daily promos that can't be beat, odds boosters you won't find anywhere else, early payout promos, it's all at PointsBet.com. You can bet from anywhere in New Jersey using your mobile device. And now there's even a better reason to sign up with PointsBet.com. Go to PointsBet.com and sign up using our promo code PIKE, that's P-I-K-E, and you'll get 2 risk-free bets up to $1,000. PointsBet is the preferred sportsbook of superstars Allen Iverson and Darrelle Revis. They even have the Revis Betting Academy hosted by Darrelle Revis himself. So sign up today at PointsBet.com using our promo code PIKE and start having some real fun. That's promo code PIKE, P-I-K-E. PointsBet. Stay sharp. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. The East Coast Gaming Congress is back this year at Harrah's Conference Center in Atlantic City, New Jersey on June 12th and 13th. Every year, casino and iGaming industry CEOs and leaders from all over the United States gather to discuss the latest developments in fantasy sports, skill-based gaming, online gaming, and now sports betting. The East Coast Gaming Congress is the largest gaming conference outside of Nevada and features timely, cutting-edge panels and content from global leaders in all aspects of gaming. And now with legalized sports betting spreading across the country at an incredible pace, this hot topic will be taking center stage at this year's event. If you're all in, visit ecgc.us to register for your all-access pass to this 2-day conference. Register before June 12th for discounted rates. And this year, the Congress features keynote speeches from AGA President Bill Miller, Monumental Sports and Entertainment CEO Ted Leonsis, and New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. Register today to take part in the industry's best conference, the East Coast Gaming Congress at Harrah's Atlantic City on June 12th and 13th. See you there.
I bet you $20 I can get you gambling before the end of the day.
No way.
I'll give you 3-1 odds.
No.
5-1.
No.
10-1.
You're on.
Welcome back to Turnpike Sports. You know, here at the show, we get a lot of interesting books written by a lot of interesting people. For me, this is one of the more fascinating books I've read. The writer is Simon Chokoisky, and the book is Gambler's Dharma, Sports Betting with Vedic Astrology. And we are lucky enough to have Simon on the phone with us right now. Simon, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, great. Our pleasure. Just for some background for people out there who are not familiar with it, what is Vedic Astrology?
Well, it's just what it sounds like. It's a type of astrology that's mainly practiced in India, and typically it was just for the kings and queens in the old days to help them figure out when is the best time to go into battle, when is the best time to get married. And, one unique thing we as gamblers understand is that timing is very important. You know, you have good days, you have bad days, you have good weeks, good years, and bad years sometimes. And in the old days, people used to wonder, why does that happen? You know, why is it that sometimes someone who is much less skilled than I am can beat me, and on some days, I can take on the world, whether it's at cards or whatever your pursuit. And so they figured out that there was some correlation between what's happening up in the heavens and whether you were having a good day or not. And so that's Vedic astrology. It's the astrology of ancient India that was used to time major events.
You touch on something that I want to ask you. You know, these techniques you say have been used for thousands of years and in every country of the world. Are you surprised that more people haven't used these techniques with regard to sports and betting?
Yes and no. So in the old days, any science like this or art or superstition, whatever you want to call it, it wouldn't survive until this day if it didn't have some usefulness, some effectiveness. So as I said, in the old days, both in the West and the East, every king, every important person, I should say, had a consultant. Just as today we have financial consultants, we have consultants, real estate agents. Well, there were astrologers. And so they would ask their astrologers, hey, when should I do this? Or is this a good person to be in business with? And if they were wrong, typically what happened was, especially if you're a king, you didn't fire them. You actually banished them. They were done. Their career was over. Or at worst case scenario, they got their head cut off. So if the stuff didn't work, astrology would have disappeared a long time ago. Now, the problem is that it's a complex science, and there are a lot of charlatans out there, and a lot of knuckleheads like me who, get it wrong and miss stuff, and but we still try our best. Mm-hmm. So I think I understand why it's not used today, because it's very difficult. And another thing is, in the old days, the best minds, like the best mathematicians, the most brilliant scientists, they were doing astrology, the Albert Einsteins of the world. Whereas today, there are many more things that brilliant minds can do. They can go into science. They can go into, building rockets and so on. So we've got more average minds doing astrology, and as a result, it's maybe gone down. Mm-hmm. And so that doesn't surprise me.
When you're talking about sports, what are some of the aspects of a game or a team that you look at when using astrology in sports betting?
A sport is a contest. It's a battle. It's a win or a loss. It's black and white. Well, sometimes there's a tie. And more fundamentally, a contest is a space-time event. That means it begins at a particular place at a particular time. And then it has a lifespan. It lasts an hour or two, or if it's baseball, it can last forever, theoretically. But and then typically it has an ending, just like a human being. So if astrology can be applied to a human being, we're also space-time events. We're born in a certain place in a certain time. We have a lifespan, and then, we expire. So it's the same thing. A sporting contest is just like a human being. And if it works for human beings to be able to tell you, hey, you're going to be successful, you're going to do well, or you're not, then it should work for telling us whether the home team or the favorite team should win. So it's just like a battle, except these days the battles happen on the gridiron more often than on the battlefield.
What's intriguing about the book is how you bring the reader along during the process of creating a chart for a particular team or game. And at the start of this process is something called Dharma or Dharma types. What is that, and why is that so important when creating your charts?
Well, and I hate to get philosophical here, but Dharma is your right path. It's your purpose in life. It's your calling. And if it's not your calling to be a speculator, to be a gambler, to be in this field, then my contention is no matter how good you get at techniques, no matter how much you study, it's not really the right thing for you. And you should know that before you get into it. My mentor taught me that the astrologer's job is to put themselves out of business. That means that you take a client and you teach them, you help them find their purpose in life. You help them find their calling. And when you do that, then they don't need you anymore. Your job is done, right? And I've said this before, where I think that's also a doctor's job, traditionally, to take a client, teach them good health, how to eat, how to take care of their body, so that they don't need the doctor anymore. That's a utopian kind of world. But when it comes to gambling, I'm sure you've seen people like this who are well-intentioned, they study, but they're just not, somehow it's not for them. Mm-hmm. And this goes for everything. For boxing, people try to be boxers, but they're just not. And so my job, first of all, is to find out, is speculation right for you? Is it in the stars for you, if you will? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So,
and we start from there. And some people from very early on, they know that's their path, and that's great. And then my job is to help them get better, to help them find the better times to go to the casino, the better times to enter that tournament. But we know that they're in alignment. Mm-hmm. And so that's what that chapter is about.
Another term you use when analyzing a game is something called victory houses. Now, how does the idea of victory houses relate to your analysis?
So in astrology, there's something called houses of the horoscope. There are 12 houses, and each team gets 6 houses that are good for victory, and another 6 that are not good. So it's very simple. When the planets are in the house, in the victory, what I call the victory houses. Mm-hmm. That's my term, by the way, for one team, and they're not, and by extension, they're not for the other team, then it shows which team is stronger. Mm-hmm. It's pretty straightforward.
By the way, it's a great term because when I saw victory houses, okay, I need to know this if I'm going to win at sports betting using astrology. I see the word victory, and I'm attracted to it.
Well, I got to tell you, I appreciate you saying that, because when I took this on, my wife and everybody said, "Who are you writing this book for? There's only so many astrologers, and there's only so many people who bet, and you're writing it for these niches." And I said, you know what? There's something in my heart that's just driving me to do this, and so there it is. So I'm very heartened that you're taking this to heart yourself.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things. It's ancient wisdom that's been around for so long, and it's been used around the world. And it's just, I'm surprised that more people aren't embracing this it's from our ancestors, really.
Well, I'll tell you, in the 60s, there was an astrologer in India. His name was Krishnamurti. Mm-hmm. And he got so good to where he had a line around his house like people were trying to buy an iPhone. Like people would camp out for 2 or 3 days, and the line would stretch around the neighborhood a couple of times. And part of the reason how he got so good was he would play cards. And he would test his techniques by playing cards, and he'd see which times, and he was a decent card player, but, he wasn't the best. Mm-hmm. And he would play during times that were good for him, and then he would have his son, so he'd calculate this beforehand, and he'd have his son call him as soon as time turned bad to give him an excuse to leave the table. I know that's a crummy thing to do, but, he was testing this. And so, like at 12:31, his son would call and he'd say, "Oh, sorry guys, I got to take my chips and take off." And he got so good that people wouldn't play with him anymore, so he had to start losing on purpose. Mm-hmm. And this is a true story, by the way. This you can verify this yourself. His name was Krishnamurti, and he developed a system to where he could time even down to the hour, which period is favorable for you, which period isn't. And I'm not as good as I study his system and I try to follow along, but there are brilliant people like that who have got this stuff down really to a science. I'm surprised too, but also it's very difficult. Like I said, it was only the best minds in the old days who would do this stuff, and these days, not so much.
Okay, now we understand the terms Dharma types, and we get the concept of victory houses. As I said, it's a process. What is your next step when trying to determine the outcome of a game using Vedic astrology?
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the book, there are a total of 9 techniques. And so the victory houses is one technique, and that's how I first sort of got into it. But the victory houses move very slowly. So basically any game that starts within an hour or so is going to have the same configuration. And so the victory house technique was working a lot, but it was also not working some of the time. And I thought, why isn't it working? And so there are more discrete techniques that depend on an exact start time. And when I gave predictions last week, I noted that if this game starts within a couple of minutes of when it's supposed to, then we expect this outcome. And the more I did this, the more I found that even seconds can make a difference. And so timing, again, back to this idea that timing is everything. And if you begin playing, or if a game begins at a certain time, a certain outcome is expected. But if it begins a minute later, that outcome could be 180. It can be totally different. It could be for the other team.
How much of a change?
So I figured out some techniques to figure that out.
How much of a change in time is if it happens within an hour, it's pretty much the same, or can it be changed from minute to minute, or how is that determined?
Honestly, it's from minute to minute. And as I mentioned earlier, the most recent example of this was a Cleveland-New York game, baseball, last game. of their series, where, in my opinion, if that game had started 1 minute earlier, so if you're the manager and you know that you're supposed to start within this time, that Cleveland would have won, not New York. And by the way, this isn't, I know this sounds crazy and radical, but we spent 8 years under the Reagan administration having his astrologer time absolutely every meeting, every, airplane takeoff and landing according to this principle. And his assistant even had a stopwatch, and he cued Reagan when it was time to begin a press conference, when it was time to begin a meeting. And his whole presidency ran according to this principle. So a very conservative man, but yet someone who understood, or at least went along with, this principle that to everything, if you want to succeed at something, starting at the right time really gives you a leg up.
It's amazing.
So sometimes it's even minutes and seconds.
It's amazing how precise that is when you're talking about time, how 1 minute can change an outcome of something so important.
Well, and it's hard to believe because you'll never know, right?
Yeah.
You'll never know if what the other outcome would have been, except that I've tracked games that have begun at very similar times, maybe a minute apart, and the chart is just different by a minute, and the outcome is the opposite. So I actually have, I have thousands of charts that I've looked at, and I have that data. And this speaks to the question of when most scientists think about astrology and they debunk it, they go, well, look at twins. Sometimes twins lead radically different lives, but they were born just minutes apart. And it's true. They're right. And so sometimes minutes can make a difference, and sometimes twins lead very similar lives. Mm-hmm. And in that case, it didn't make a difference. Mm-hmm.
I guess connected with time is also the location of a sporting event. How much emphasis do you put on the home team versus the visitor when you're creating your chart?
Right. Well, it's 10:45 where I am, and it's before noon. But if you were in Tokyo, it would be night, right? So location is very much linked with time, and as Einstein taught us, space and time are really the same thing, and that's why we call it space-time. So location and time are the two components that are the most important. So yes, absolutely, you need an accurate location for a correct horoscope and an accurate start time.
When you talk about location, and we talked at another time, you mentioned individual players will perform differently depending on when and where they play. And this led us to be thinking, would it be beneficial for an athlete or a team to consult an astrologer before he signs with a particular team? Do you know of any athletes who actually consulted with astrologers before joining a team?
That is a great question. No, I personally don't. I work with, I don't work with the kings and queens in the world typically, although I've seen a couple of Hollywood celebrities and whatnot, but typically I work with mom and pop clients. But in my opinion, the $100 or whatever you spend to consult with an astrologer before making a multi-million-dollar move or trade is worth it. It's well worth it. Because yes, different locations will affect you. So I think even in playing cards, if you go to a tournament in Vegas and, you do well, you may go to a tournament in Jersey or somewhere else and just stink up the room. And part of that could be related to, it may not be, but it's possible that it's related to the fact that in Jersey, you just have bad lines. You've got bad stuff going on there, bad juju for you, so that you don't do as well. And we can identify that.
Oh, great. I'm in Jersey. I feel terrible now.
No. It's individual. So
I know.
You get, by the way, anyone can do this for themselves. There's a site you can go to. I don't know if it's okay to refer. It's not my site. This is a general site, so it's not a plug. It's a site called astro.com. You go to free horoscopes, and then you click on Astro Click Travel. Because typically we use this to figure out where people can travel and have a good time and where, areas they should avoid. Click on that, enter your data, and then you'll see all of your lines across the globe. And then anywhere you click, it'll interpret it for you, and it'll tell you, hey, this place is great for business, this place is great for relationships.
Uh-huh.
Like, just a really quick example, I have a client, or I had a client, and her Venus line went through Portland, Maine. And I said, look, Portland, Maine is great for love for you. And she started laughing. I said, why are you laughing? She said, my husband's from Portland, Maine.
Wow.
And
Boy.
she had never been there. But her husband, love, had come to her from Portland, Maine. And likewise, where you have a Jupiter line is where you're lucky. So when it comes to gambling, you want to look to where your Jupiter line is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you find that, go to those places, try it out, see what happens. I've done it. For me, it's through Puerto Rico. And years ago, when I landed in Puerto Rico, I didn't speak Spanish, nothing. And this is a true story. I was on the street corner, and I didn't have any car or anything. There was this guy on a motorcycle. I tapped him on the shoulder. It was a red light. I said, how much you want for that bike? He said, $800. I pulled it out, paid him. He got off the bike, gave me his helmet, and gave me the little thing, the registration. I got on the bike. By the time the light turned green, I was off.
Wow.
And stuff like that happened for me over there like crazy. Like, I would knock on a door and people would say, come in, we've been waiting for you. We need, I was a physical trainer at the time. We need somebody to help us run the gym. Intercontinental Hotel, I became the manager. Like that.
Wow, boy.
So where your Jupiter line is where you tend to be lucky. And you can find that. It's very easy. It's not difficult. Any of your listeners can find it.
Oh, wow. That's amazing story. I never read a book like the one you've written, Gambler's Dharma, Sports Betting with Vedic Astrology, and that uses astrology and its technique for sports betting. I gotta ask you, has this book been well received in the astrology world? Have there been astrologers saying, hey, you shouldn't be using our techniques for gambling purposes, or has it been well received within the industry?
There's a small percentage of astrologers who are a little bit above it all and a little bit high and mighty. And actually I understand where they're coming from, because this is a spiritual science. It's meant to empower people, right? And they have this association that speculation is somehow disempowering. And like I said at the beginning, it can be. If it's not your calling, it can be. You can lose your house, in your mortgage. But it's also gotten some great reviews from some professional astrology magazines. So yes, generally speaking, it's been well received.
Well, we're running out of time, and I want to thank you, Simon, for coming on and discussing this very interesting book you've written. The name of the book is Gambler's Dharma, Sports Betting with Vedic Astrology by Simon Chokoisky. And check out his website at spirittype.com. Simon, thanks for coming on.
It's been my pleasure, guys. Take care.
Stick around. We'll be right back with more Turnpike Sports.
Free stuff is awesome, but free stuff that will spice up your bedroom is even better. Just go to adamandeve.com and select almost any one item for 50% off, and then we'll load on the free stuff. Just enter this very exclusive code, BABE16 at checkout, and you'll get 10 tantalizing free gifts, including a sexy item for him, a special toy for her, and a third item you'll both enjoy. And 6 extra special bonus items that are sure to rev your engine, pique your curiosity, and even blow you away. Plus, free shipping! Always sent in discreet packaging. Go to adamandeve.com now. Get 50% off plus the 10 free gifts when you enter the exclusive offer code BABE16. That's BABE16, because without it, no free stuff. That's BABE16 at adamandeve.com.
When it comes to online sports betting, PlaySugarHouse.com offers players one of the best experiences in the state of New Jersey. PlaySugarHouse.com offers millions of betting options on the sports you love. They offer live in-game betting on sporting events worldwide, moneyline bets, point spreads, prop bets, play-by-play bets, and many more. All at PlaySugarHouse.com, your new home for sports betting in New Jersey. Take advantage of one of their 12 easy deposit methods to get in on all the action. And now, when you sign up at PlaySugarHouse.com using our promo code PIKE, they'll match your first deposit up to $250. More bets, better odds at PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up today at PlaySugarHouse.com and don't forget to use our promo code PIKE to take advantage of their first deposit match up to $250. Must be 21 years or older and in New Jersey to place a bet. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome back to Turnpike Sports. We don't have a lot of time, but I want to give a special thank you to Simon Chokoisky, author of Gambler's Dharma, Sports Betting with the Vedic Astrology. Very interesting.
One of the most unique books on the market. Get it because it'll teach you how to do sports betting in a different way, and it's a nice, refreshing look at some of the normal things that you actually look at when you're doing sports betting.
It's very unique. Well, that'll do it for us. See you next time on the Turnpike.